All right, welcome everyone. The show after the show, KMMS AM 1450 in Bozeman. Tom Eaglehoff, your host, and we're doing an after the show. Joining me, of course, as always, is my co-host from Vancouver, British Columbia, Shane Tobin. Good morning, Shane. How you doing? Or good afternoon, I guess it is.
I may not be in the house, but I'm on the screen, which is a wonderful thing, with the great Eagle Man, the host of KMMS Saturday Morning Live, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, open for business. So make sure if you enjoy our broadcast, which I know you will, you want to hear Tom's show Saturday mornings, 10 Pacific Time, on KMMS.com or on your radio if you're in Montana.
Yep. And it is St. Patrick's Day, so of course we want to put that up on the screen. We're happy to be here with St. Patrick's Day and all of that stuff. So of course we're glad to be here with you guys. A couple of things we want to talk about today. We didn't get to talk to them on our regular show, so we want to do it again. And one of those is the DACA situation. And that was postponed, I guess, Shane. So we need to talk about that, of course. So what's going on with DACA these days?
Well, I think the fascinating thing about DACA that your president's faced with is that he's now been in the office for a little more than a year. He's now come to understand how the complexity of the federal government operates, including his own party. You know, they led him down the path about the Obamacare, like the Democrats led Obama down the path in 2009 to establish Obamacare, which took him 2 years till Christmas, in 2010, Christmas Eve of 2010 to sign it. But Trump's figured this out quicker. He's figured out how the whole system works. And, you know, he's the art of the deal. You know, he warned everyone last October that DACA was coming up in March 5th and that they needed to do something, the Congress, about it. And, of course, they didn't. So then he offers a proposal on television, which astounded everyone, and came back with not just 750,000 DACA individuals in the U.S., but 1.8 million, including their family. And, you know, of course, the Democrats ran from it because they don't want to give them DACA as a winning issue in the 2018 campaign. So now he's left with waiting on Congress, because if you didn't like my deal, come back with your own, and they still haven't. So when all the African-American DACA and dreamers out there are concerned about where they stand, look to your Democratic representatives for the answer, because it isn't the Republicans holding this up, baby. It is the Democrats.
All right. Yeah, Nick just gave us a thumbs up, Shane, on our newsmaker line here. So we're happy to have Nick here. Got a couple of viewers coming in right now. So you can also leave comments here. We can see your comments if you want to leave a comment, and we'll be happy to do that for you. And Shane, I think one of the things with DACA it seems like the Democrats could have got a lot of points by doing this by March 5th, you know, but they want to add all these riders onto the bill, and you know the Republicans just aren't going to go for that. I don't think the Republicans want to stand in the way of the DACA thing, but they certainly don't want to give the store away.
Well, it's a combination, again, you know, and chalk this up to your president learning what politics is all about. So, you know, what he did is, and as the example for this, is the tax bill. You know, he made sure that there was that addition to the tax bill that got rid of the Obama, requirement for the basic individual requirement to sign up for Obamacare. So it's basically gone and dead. So he wants included in this deal his $25 billion to build the wall, and it's a 2-for-1er for him, because he solves the DACA problem, he gets the money for the wall, and keep in mind, you know, the importance of the wall now isn't just about drug dealers and people coming over the wall. It's about the growing American economy, because you start getting to 4 or 5%, they're going to come back. They're going to come back in droves, because there are going to be more jobs. So, you know, you need that wall because with a growing and expanding economy over the next 8 years with President Trump and the acceleration of new plants and new work in the United States, you got to keep all these immigrants out. And you're still dealing with 12 to 20 million, you know, undocumented or illegal immigrants in your country.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. That you know, we've got a lot going on with this, but I don't know. I just feel the Republicans really dropped the ball, or the Democrats really dropped the ball here by not getting this thing done. Because now you're starting to see some minor demonstrations in some of these bigger cities against the Democratic Party.
Yeah, they are finally coming around. And, you know, we've talked about this at great length. You know, one of the reasons the African-American issue came out in the last year with, you know, Black Lives Matter and all these other issues is because the leadership of the Black African-American community now realize that they're the second largest minority in your country. They're overrepresented in Congress and the Senate, on television, because the largest minority in your country now are Mexican-Americans, and they're 16.8% and growing. By 2050, there'll be 32% as a minority in your country. And, you know, the African-American leadership realizes they're losing a recognized aspect because they're overrepresented on television, in the media, in Congress. And, you know, the Mexican-American needs to catch up. And when are they going to start demonstrating for more equal representation? Because they're the largest minority. Seems right to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, let's move on to our next topic, the Veterans Parade. The president wants a parade for the veterans, and I don't know that I'm opposed to that at all. And you know, but what can I tell you? It's kind of I don't know. You know, it's obvious that you could say, well, you know, $30 million for a parade, you could do a lot with veterans rather than march a bunch of people down the street. But I don't know. As a Vietnam vet, we weren't welcomed home all that well. And I think a parade to honor veterans, particularly at this time, in many cases, veterans, I think, feel maybe they're left out. Maybe the VA isn't doing as well as it could be in some parts of the country. So I'm not opposed to a parade at all.
Well, and it's in this case, it's history, it's nostalgia. November 11th at the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month is the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. So you should have a parade because it's 100 years since the end of World War I. It should be a huge celebration to recognize all vets in the last 100 years. I think this is a fantastic thing. It's Sunday. It'll be on Sunday. So everybody, it can be, you know, it can be a nationwide televised parade to celebrate Veterans Day that day. We celebrate it, of course, as Remembrance Day in Canada. And we hold out everything to you know, to our veterans in this country, as you do in yours. And we align ourselves to that with you and that date. You know, the British celebrate that date. So, I mean, this is going to be a global celebration of the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. So there's going to be military parades in Canada. There's going to be military parades in London, in France, you know, probably even in Germany, I would think, even in Berlin. So Italy, you know, all the lower countries, Belgium, the Netherlands, Holland. This is going to be a major holiday globally, certainly from that standpoint. So, of course, you should have a big military parade. Recognize your armed forces. And, you know, we're talking about the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, and your, what do you call them on the sea? The rescuers on the sea.
The Coast Guard or the
Thank you, the Coast Guard. They are part of it. I'm old. I'm 63. I got it. No, I can't knock on my John Deere green hat that I got from my son-in-law for celebrating St. Patrick's Day. But a happy goes out to everyone and him on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I've never seen a Coast Guard guy at an overpass with a sign, "We'll work for food." Coast Guard. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know.
And if you did, he'd be hanging in the net from a helicopter.
Right, there you go. All right, our next item we want to talk about, of course, Trump is saying, well, he's going to sit down with North Korea. So where are we going there?
Well, the fascinating thing about this whole issue, with North Korea is twofold. No American president has ever sat down with one of the three, family leaders of North Korea. This started in 1950, 52 with the Korean War, and ended with an armistice. There's no peace treaty. It's just an armistice. So actually, technically, everyone involved in that conflict, including Canada, is still at war with North Korea. So any action that takes place involves all the countries that were involved in that police action. That's number one for everyone to remember. Number two, the North is collapsing economically. With all the limitations, restrictions, and everything that's been put on them. And I think the other thing that Trump's come to realize, and you called this out a year ago, this was your call, this is all about China. There's no way North Korea created this nuclear armament system in such a short period of time without the help of the Chinese. All the Chinese are doing is circulating the agreement that they stand under, the Strategic Arms Agreement, and using North Korea for their own testing of missiles and these nuclear weapons. And Trump has figured this out. I'm not sure that he wasn't properly informed about it, but that's number two. Number three, he's not going to any meeting unless there's clear indication of what they're going to do. And the first one is going to be allow the IAEA to go in there, takes less than 2 weeks, go to their facilities and get samples of their enrichment process so that they have a footprint. Everyone that signed the IAEA agreement in the world, with the exception of Iran, Israel, and North Korea, have not provided that to the IAEA. Why is it important? Because with that information, the IAEA would know where any nuclear fission material came from in the event of a nuclear explosion. So that's the third and fourth, and then the fourth, of course, is South Korea. They've got to tell everyone that they're going to back off from this waste of military demands of South Korea's own willingness to protect itself, and step away from the border that they've got, all the massive troops and guns on. Yeah.
Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about, Shane, today, we've got Russian sanctions going on. The UK has kicked out a bunch of Russian ambassadors. Russia retaliated. They kicked out a bunch of UK ambassadors. We've kicked out a bunch of people. So where are we going with these sanctions? Well, a lot of people said, well, the Congress voted for sanctions on Russia, but they never, the president never implemented them. And I've always said the reason he didn't was because Russia started towing the line, and now they're kind of out of line again. So is he going to impose these Russian sanctions or not?
The great thing about your president is he knows how to negotiate, and you always negotiate with it's like playing cards. You play your cards one at a time. You get something in your back pocket, which Congress gave him these new sanctions, and he waited for the right time to use them. So let's look at this. Well, he's not a globalist; he's a nationalist. I think Secretary Tillerson got bounced because he is a globalist. I'm not saying being a globalist is wrong, but for all those conspiracy theorists about globalism and the world one economy and the world one takeover, Trump is a nationalist. He's not a globalist, and he wants people around him that are globalists. And I think that's why you're seeing the changes in the White House he's affecting now. I think you'll see a lot more coming in that regard. And in regards to the Russians, I think that one of the things with the firing of this McCabe, which we're going to talk about, the dark state in the U.S. government has been trying to push Trump in the direction of starting a military action with Russia. They've tried everything to take him down. They have tried including a conspiracy to falsely charge him with a Russian conspiracy, and everything else. And he's figured this out. So you have this trigger that happened in England with the family, with the father and daughter. The spy supposedly is some important to the Russians. Who knows why? I mean, he's been out. That was back in the Soviet times. But anyway, they end up killing him and his daughter and infecting a British police officer. And that's why these people in England were kicked out by the Prime Minister of England, May. And what does he do? He pulls out of his back pocket and he says, well, here are new sanctions. You know, you want to play hardball? Well, here's more. So what this does is that, the United States, through the Treasury Department, controls the currencies of the world and the flow of money. So when you're an oligarchy of 42, 45 guys with Putin running what is now Russia, this has got to start hurting these guys if they personally have issues.
Does this change people's minds that a lot of people think that, well, since we're on Facebook, I could probably say it, that will this change people's mind that Trump is Putin's bitch?
Well, exactly, and it even further pushes the narrative that because Trump has figured out not just how to be a politician and run his government, and not just to be critical on the world stage with this move with North Korea. I mean, he's becoming a full flow president. He's following his 5 rules. He's commander in chief. He's the chief law enforcement officer. He's head of the strongest military in the world, and therefore foreign relations are a major part of his duty. He's head of his party. And now on top of all of this, you find him being able to reach out to over 100 million people on social network to get around the news media and the failure to report everything he's accomplished and what he's doing. Now you sit on the precipice of a collapse of what the news media, the Department of Justice, and even the FBI has done to take him down. And even the BBC is reporting that the sanctions over the 2016 election interference are having an impact on on Russia. Russia is not what it was in the Soviet Union. It's a commodity-based economy like Canada, principal to which is oil, gas, and wheat, diamonds, and gold. So their budget in 2016 for military expenditures was $92 billion, a tenth of the United States annual, budget. And they're trying to upgrade everything in the old Soviet military because it's all rotted and rusted away. They have no real Navy, no Air Force, and even their nuclear deterrent was falling apart. So there you go. He's trying to come up with something to have a card at the table with Trump to play.
Well, yeah, I can certainly realize that. Well, our last item of the day just happened yesterday, of course, and that's the McCabe firing. We want to talk a little bit about that as to what we talked about it on the show today a little bit. That does this tarnish the otherwise great reputation of the FBI, Shane, in the long run?
No, it doesn't tarnish the foot people of the FBI, or it doesn't tarnish the people that are in the Department of Justice. But what it does do is say to the world, America is now a republic that makes people accountable. And so if content for our listeners, who knew there was an Office of Professional Responsibility? Well, folks, there's 74 of them. Every major agency of the United States, every secretary that Trump has in that cabinet room, every department has an Office of Professional Responsibility. Now, Sessions, as the head of the Department of Justice, got that report about this guy, McCabe, and then he wanted to get the Inspector General, again, Inspector Generals of all the departments individually, but the one in regards to the Department of Justice is Inspector General Horowitz, gave Sessions his report, and independent of Sessions, the Office of Professional Responsibility, seeing that report, recommended this firing. So now everyone knows their head is on lock in the U.S. government. They now know, and Americans are going to learn about the Office of Professional Responsibility. They're going to learn about their inspector generals, and that there is a protocol that's followed for getting rid of people that have colluded, or worse than that, that have tried to break the law. Now, remember, McCabe has been clearly fired for 2 reasons. He lied, and number 2, he wasn't transparent. His wife got $700,000 to run for a Virginia State Senate seat from the governor of Virginia, who's part of McAuliffe, and from a PAC, political action committee of the Clintons, gave his wife $700,000, which he never disclosed to the FBI. No. He's toast.
Well, I guess we'll find out how that's going to lay out here in the next few days. So, well, we've got to get out of here, and
yes, we do.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody being on with us today, and we want to invite everybody to come listen to Open for Business. We're on every Saturday, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. KMMSAM.com. KMMSAM.com. Don't forget the AM. And Shane, thanks for being here. We'll see you next week, and we'll try and do more of these shows. So hopefully we can get them done. And
always, Eagle Man, be happy, be safe to you and our listeners and watchers, and stay alive, everyone, because we're live now.
All right. Thank you, everybody, again. Open for Business, Saturday, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Listen live on KMMSAM.com. And we are out of here. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.